Good morning, everybody. Hi. Happy Thursday morning. Okay, so we're tooling along now. We're now in class 8. I don't know if anyone recognized it because I know every single one of you did all of your homeworks between their Monday and now, right? Yes, we did, Tim. So we have um we have two more Lojungs to go through, and they're both I love this course. I don't know if you're really enjoying this or not, but I love the practicality of it and sort of the kind of the coachability, I guess. We have this there's the real life applications of these courses. This is where you can say, all right, I haven't known how to practice what we've learned. This course is the practice course. Like, and I find that a lot of people have difficulty in actually figuring out how do I practice these things? Like, how do I take these ideas and then navigate it with the ups and downs of normal life? And so, this is one of those courses that you can review over and over again, especially when you're like, for me, when I'm having, just general, like, I'm not really sure what to do with this information, or I'm just tired of studying emptiness and like analyzing, why do I have to see that? Like, for me, that's the thing I say to myself, like, why do I have to see this? Why do I have to see this? Like, what seeds do I need to do differently? And sometimes for me, it's a bit overwhelming, maybe a bit analytical, right? Where this is basically, hey, just do these things, right? You don't have to think about it so much. It doesn't mean it's easy to do, of course, but for me, just having the practical advice is, what did they say in that Lojong to do right now, instead of having to analyze the whole thing? Because honestly, it gets exhausting to analyze too much. I don't know if other people's minds are that way, but mine gets tired. So, all right, let's get moving into into Clate here. Let me get all my notes up. Okay. So I've got finished with this too late last night, so I just put this in the PowerPoint. Um, we're moving into a Lojong by Dharmarakshita, and it's called the Wheel of Knives. And the main this is such a I mean, this course was given when 1998, I think. And we've since then translated, not me, but the Diamond Cutter Classics has translated this entire Lojong. Uh, Seiji Arao did that with Geshe Michael, and it has been published. So if you want to read the whole thing, you can go to the Diamond Cutter Classics and download. You can buy the ebook, or you can purchase the actual book. And the main imagery that comes up from this is the idea of a peacock. And what does a peacock do? Like, what is this symbology of it, I guess? And what is, if we're when they talk about peacock warriors, I have this feeling I want to show you guys something, if I can actually get this to work. I need to show you guys something. There's a peacock sitting on my front porch right now. So I'm going to see if I can zoom in. I'm going to zoom in with my other phone or with my phone so you all can see this because it's pretty damn cool. I've been having a peacock visit me almost every single day, and it's sitting on my. It's right in my cat was looking at it. So let's turn this on. We don't go on field trips enough. So we're going on a field trip. Do, do, do. All right, here we go. There's my messy kitchen. Don't look at that. And there he is. Right. It's kind of blurry. Oh, it's because I have the wrong thing on. Wait, hold on. That's all right. Okay. But yeah, there he is, hanging out on my porch here. All right. All right. So there you go. He visited exactly when I wanted him to. All right. And I'll send you guys better pictures. My phone has some kind of filter on it, so it wasn't as clear, but you got the idea, right? So it's been a bit auspicious lately, with him showing up. Um, and the idea with a peacock is that they're in that the beauty of their feathers, the beauty of their colors, is that they transform poison into beauty. That they, I'm so happy he understood the assignment. Last night he was down on the road, and I was like, "Hey, can you come up at 6 o'clock tomorrow?" Yeah. So, but the idea is that they can take the most wretched substances and they can turn it into the most beautiful things. And that's the idea, is that's what a peacock warrior is. That's what a bodhisattva is. That's what a bodhisattva can do. Is that getting into the depths of negative and in the depths of suffering and to come out on top, basically. So that's a lot of ways um, about what the wheel of knives is about, is how to take the poisons and turn them into beauty. And we're going to learn about what those poisons are very soon through the next two classes. So let's see here. This is a this was written down by Dharma Rakshita and then presented to Lord Atisha. And when you read it, it sounds like a teaching. Like I think it has days written into it and things like that. So it has this like feeling of an ongoing ACI course, like maybe 10 classes. I don't remember how many it was. Right. So that's from a different slide. So sorry, that was a bad slide. So basically, his teacher was Dharma Rakshita. in this case, and it's called the Sunchak Korlo, the Wheel of Knives. That's the name of the book for those of you who are studying Tibet. Yeah. So what does this Wheel of Knives look like? Like, what is it? How does it kind of, what is it kind of, some people think of it as something that goes on one's head, sort of like a crown of knives. Like if you think of kind of like in a way, the way that the Jesus's crown was represented, right? Where it's like pointing inwards. So there's different ways of looking at it. You know, may it cut my own afflictions looking inward. But it also has been described as being knives that are outward as well, sort of like a ninja star. Right. So in the center is a place where you can, you put your finger and then you can kind of throw it at someone. So it's kind of the way it gets described is it's kind of like a razor tipped boomerang. So like, the when you have the boomerang and you throw it, if you throw it correctly, it'll go up and it'll come back to you. I never got it to work when I was a kid, but apparently that's what it is. You have this thing where it goes off, you know. But it's the same thing with the wheel of knives. That why? What is it that throws that wheel off? Right? And then it comes right back to you. And as a descriptor of karma, that's pretty much it. Like you launched something a while back, right? You sent out a ninja star, you know, and if you have the right technique, that's one of the things I like to do. I like to go to ninja dojos and find these things in Japan. Like there's something, I must have some kind of past life karma with that. So you pick that basically, if you think about your negative seeds, if you think about what you're doing all the time, we're literally, you have ninja stars that you're throwing out into the world all the time. It's really depressing, actually. If you think about it, you're throwing these ninja stars out and they're looping around and then they're just like bam hitting you, right? They keep coming back and you don't even know why. Like you just keep getting hit. Oh, ninja. Oh, I should put a picture of a ninja star. The, got it? Okay. And so the whole Lojong is about all the ways that we're throwing those ninja boomerang wheel of knives out that loop back around and then keep hitting us over and over and over again. And I'll give you the punchline now, and then we're going to be discussing it more in the next class. What is the primary ninja star that you're throwing out? What is the primary wheel of a wheel of knife, a wheel of knives, the wheel of knives that you're throwing it out? Like those are all correct. It is a kind of misunderstanding and ignorance, but it's a very specific misunderstanding. It's wrong worldview, definitely. It's your Dakchenzen. It's your self-cherishing. The way in which you hold on, grasp onto yourself. Okay. The things that you cherish about yourself. And if you're doing that, you're constantly like throwing them out over and over and over again. And so it just becomes, it's like, no, it's spelled, Dak is spelled self. Chen is spelled, no, don't make me do this right now. Let me look it up. Dak Chenzen. Wrong Chenzen. So so it's this. G, that. I think. Let me make sure I got that right. Ch, yeah, there it is. Yeah, Doc Chenson. Or just Doc Sin. Okay. So that's we're constantly, it's like the airplanes are constantly going off at Newark Airport, which are now delayed all the time because the radar doesn't work, which is depressing and scary, right? But the plane, you just keep throwing, you keep launching. The planes just keep taking off, and then they go off on their flight path, and then they're continuing to land, right? So it becomes this. It's actually like, it is in a way an outer wheel too. You're self grasping, which you don't even realize you're doing, right? Is constantly throwing out these wheels, and they're constantly coming back to you, even when you're having a good day. That's the depressing part. Even when you're having a good day, that we're in this cycle all the time, you know. And so, and then more especially when are having some kind of affliction, right? When you're having a negative emotion, you see, then then it just even gets worse. So that's the main idea here, is we're going to be looking at the ways in which we're throwing these wheels out in all different kinds of ways. And then how is it that we could potentially stop that? Like, how can we stop all of that? Which is the main idea. Because if we can stop that cycle, your world and yourself will be completely transformed. Let's see here. So this idea of the peacocks that wander in the forest, right? They're looking, and traditionally they only eat poisonous trees. Well, we don't have any of those in Rimrock, but apparently Rimrock is kind of, there's a lot to purify here. So we'll take that. Um, and so there's this other tradition that they say that the peacocks can't stand what other people find desirable, what other animals find desirable. And so the metaphor, the way this works is that a bodhisattva takes their inner negative emotions, or which their inner afflictions, and then outer difficult situations, and they turn them into opportunities for personal practice and how to help other people. And so there's this beautiful shift of mindset, and it takes a long time to do and is difficult. It's a difficult thing to do. Is that when problems arise, you don't react to them in the ways that you used to. And that the problems become the path. The problems are basically your golden ticket out of the suffering, which oftentimes becomes difficult to, I don't know. I don't know if anyone else has difficulties with this point of view. I do, because I want the problem to stop. I'm like, please just stop. And then you do all the things to make the problem stop. Like if you're unhealthy or if you're upset. But a bodhisattva goes, wonderful. Now I have an opportunity to practice. You see, now I can truly live a life where I can purify this negative seed and I can plant something much better. And it's almost like a welcoming of challenges. Like when we started in the beginning of this course, we were talking about, well, what was the line about? It was, let me just go look it up since I have all my notes right here. That other beings are wish-giving gems. Right. And then as our practice gets better, those problems start disappearing a bit. Like the difficult people start vanishing. Not all of them. Don't worry. They'll still show up. But then when problems arise, we start to have more, we go, okay, I still have this thing to figure out. I still have these negative seeds to navigate. And you welcome it because you want it to be over with. Like you want it to end. And so that's what a peacock warrior does. Transforms the negative into something extremely beautiful. And I kind of like that, this peacock. By the way, rimrock and peacocks are not native to are not native to rimrock. It's not like we normally have them here. The other day, the other morning, it was Saturday morning, he showed up. And then he flew up onto the roof and he stood up on the top of the roof and watched everybody show up. Right. And then jumped down onto the fence as Geshe Michael showed up. Right. It was like this it was this really interesting honoring, it seemed like to me. But it was almost like he was protecting the house. He was like, all right, there's some cool stuff going on here. And then we had meditation and then we had mixed nuts here. But I find it really, it's a good reminder, like when things aren't going well, that, okay, maybe you can transform it. And Geshe Chikawa talked about that too. Like all he wants to do is go to the hell realms, but he can't. He's forced into a paradise. Like that wish that all of this could just end, right? May it ripen upon me. May it ripen upon me now. And may this be the last time that I have to see this in the world. you know, because we really have a choice. We can choose to continue to suffer in it, or we can choose to do something different. And that's the whole point of pretty much everything we're ever talking about. It's doing the opposite. It's like opposite day all the time. Like, I don't know when you were kids if you ever did opposite day. Like, wear your clothes inside out, or in school, like some people, like people even went as far as like they dressed as, the boys dressed as girls and the girls dressed as boys, opposites, right? Go left when you should go right. Is it coming this way or is it coming this way? you know and making that shift. And I see that the hardest thing to shift is when we're in the midst of a challenging situation, whether it's a health situation, whether it's war, or a financial disaster. You lost your job, your relationship ends, your relationship isn't going the way you expected it to go. Like, you know nothing's wrong, but things change, and the change is difficult. So could you say that to yourself, like, may I transform this poison into something beautiful? May this be and it's this interesting thing that what happens, and I've seen it happen with some people and their teachers. you know there's this, they see their teachers get sick, they see their teachers get old, right? And it becomes this kind of dharmic crisis. They're like, but wait, aren't they supposed to be around forever? Or even yourself, like your practice is going really well, but then all of a sudden some negative seed ripens and you have some terrible disease or something like that. How do you navigate all of those things? And then until you become an Arya, like that's where we're kind of stuck. We're kind of stuck seeing things in a certain way. But if you practice well, then it doesn't matter to you whether you're 45 and that's the end of your life, or you make it to 90 or 100. Like, of course we want to live long and do all the things, right? But if something weird comes up, you know how to practice, and then you really practice. you know it's not just this fake thing, or this sort of intellectual exercise. I've known people who've gotten cancer. I know people who've gotten terminal diseases in within our sangha, and the perspective they take, and the difficulty of taking that other perspective. One of my friends has cancer right now, and and I said, well, how are you navigating? Like, how do you feel about this? Like, what do you like? What's going on? And she said it was fascinating. It's very Lojong, but she said people misunderstand the body. They understand the nature of the body, so it has nothing, like, the body living or dying has nothing to do with the quality of your dharma practice, because it will die because it was born. And what we're trying to transform is something entirely different. And I was like, my brain was like, you know doesn't compute. you know and I had to think about it for a while. And like, it's a shift of perceptions. That's all it is. It's just a shifting of perceptions. So when your perceptions shift, how do you shift with them? How do you see it? How do you see the poison that turns into the beautiful peacock that maybe is visiting for, they remind me, Tim, just transform the poison, stop worrying, stop getting so upset, stop, just move forward. And how do you move forward? So it's a really, for me, it's a very powerful image. And it happens to be showing up in my house every morning, shows up about 6 o'clock every day when I wake up. So there's two things here about, also about how a bodhisattva acts, is just because they wish to, to stay behind in suffering, right? Just because they want to, doesn't mean that they do, right? And it also doesn't mean that they go looking to have afflictions either, just to purify them. Like, that would be silly, right? I'm going to purify these afflictions, so I'm going to get angry today. It doesn't make any sense, right? Of course, it doesn't make any sense, right? So a bodhisattva is not like purposely trying to have a mental affliction, or nor do they purposely stay in the cycle, the vicious cycle. You know, they do want to, but the wish is really to get out of it as fast as you possibly can, to reach that highest state of bliss merged with emptiness, so you can truly be of help to others, right? To actually stay is a huge mistake, and in fact, it's a bodhisattva vow not to. But there's a difference between actually staying and wishing to stay to help. There's a bit of a difference. And so it's like this wish to stay to serve, to take care of other beings, obviously not purposely triggering mental afflictions, but when the poisons arise, devour them like a peacock devours a poison in the forest, and then turn it into something beautiful. And you'll learn more about how to do that later. There's The practices become more and more designed for that. So what is this main enemy that we had, which I talked about, Daxin or Rang Chenzen, right? And they call this state of mind the henchman of the devil. And translators, what is a henchman? Someone who's working for the devil. All right. And so what is that? And mainly what it is what we said, is like grasping to yourself, where you're only working for your own happiness. And what that really means is that somehow you think that you yourself are the self-existent one, right? You don't think that you're coming from karma. Like, you don't think that. So it becomes this kind of holding on to the self, and then all of the behaviors that are around that then are planting these negative seeds. You see, so this entire lojong is about recognizing the ways that we hold on to ourselves so that we can create a different world. that we're not somehow we can think about, when we're processing all of these things, when we're learning about karma and emptiness and where things are coming from. It seems somewhat easier to, there's a debate about this, and I'm struggling with this because why this is coming up right now is in our Lam Rim studies, which will be starting in, the next class. It's talking about, we're not going to get to it today because I pushed ahead and translated more, but it talks about how it's easier to understand the emptiness of the self than it is to understand emptiness of things. And I'm having a hard time with Pabonka right now, agreeing with him. And I'm trying to figure out like what he's talking about. I'm not disagreeing because he's probably smarter than I am, and he's probably knows a little bit more than I do. But it seems to me that it's easier to understand the emptiness of things versus the emptiness of the self. And so I'm trying to figure out what he's talking about. So stay tuned. In my humble opinion, which is Tim's humble opinion and not Pabonka's opinion, is that it seems to be easier to understand like the emptiness of things like pen chew toy, right? That the world could be perceived in different ways depending on who's looking, whether it's a hell realm or if it's like, to me, it makes it easier to imagine like a cockroach walking, next to the stove, and the flame of the stove is really, really hot, right? Like, what does the cockroach see? Right? There's a pot on the stove, and like, does the cockroach see a pot or does the cockroach see a burning mountain? Different things. But when it comes to the self, to me, feels a lot more difficult. Like to understand that the self is also coming from past karma forced upon, like in a projection forced upon us by what we said, what we've thought, what we've done. So provisionally, I'm not sure. I'm not sure which one's easier. It seems easier to me to think pen is empty first and then the self second. The path of preparation, actually, the shift that one makes in the path of preparation, once you go from the emptiness of objects to the emptiness of selves, like meaning yourself, your duck, that's when you've reached the third of the fourth levels of the path of preparation. So Diamond Way is all about the emptiness of the self, right? We don't teach that first, but then Pabonka goes on to say that. So I'm curious, and maybe you could think about it. Like, why do different lamas have different points of view on it? Right? Like maybe there's something in there. Maybe there's something in there for us to think about. Maybe there's some kind of secret message. Like, is it easier to understand the emptiness of you versus the emptiness of things? I think this, like, Tracy asked a good question that I've thought about. I'm gonna address it right now just because I think it's a nice little interlude before we move on. She asked in the chat, how does this work out when we think about like our own family lineages, like the family that we came from, the history of the family, like the health of your family, like the genetics of your family, the kind of food that you ate, the traumas, the histories, like how does that play out with your particular karma? And I'm going to say that they're not contradictory. it's not contradictory to say that you have an independent karmic stream from everybody, and that your genetics, your genetic makeup, and your epigenetic makeup influence who you are. I don't think there's a contradiction, and you have to think about it. So I didn't actually answer the question. I don't think they're contradictory. All right. So the main thing that a peacock warrior needs to learn to do, right, is to understand the difference between the how of their suffering and the why of their suffering. So we have to start thinking about separating the instrument of suffering, the how, and then the cause of the suffering, the why. And so it's sort of like, let's pretend you're not feeling well. And you have some kind of sickness. You've got COVID or something, and you have a cough, or you have some kind of weird lasting symptoms. And you're like, well, I have this thing going on. My nervous system's not working right. I'm always tired. I have this cough. Like I think I got COVID a couple months ago, and I'm still like tired. Like, this is why I'm just talking about it. Like, it makes sense. The doctor was like, yeah, you probably did, based on symptoms, right? You do all this symptomatic evaluation. Then you're like, oh, well, then, I should take this. I should take this vitamin, and then I should rest more. And oh, I should look up online all the different things that I should do. And oh, look, conspiracy theory, I'm sick because of that vaccine. Oh shit. And then I just go through this whole, like, all these things I should do because I have, lasting symptoms of COVID, right? Got a little bit of a cough, kind of tired, you know, don't have as much energy as I had before. It'll pass, right? Maybe. But if I start thinking about the instrument of suffering, right? All of those things, this is my body's causing these, doing these things. Some virus, like someone brought a virus in to Rimrock, and we all got it. And we probably got it sitting at Tim's house watching Mixed Nuts, right? You know, Someone got sick, they brought it to everyone, and then it was contagious. Then, had a fever, and I did all these things, and that's why I don't feel well. Right? Exactly. Then what do I do to fix it? I go to the doctor, I take some vitamins, I sleep more, I do all these things. But that's not the why of it. Like, why did only half of the people who sat in the same room get sick? You know, why did some people get sick and then they didn't have long recovery period? They stopped coughing in a day or two, and they didn't get tired, and everything's normal for them, right? Why, when they took the vitamin B pills, that it recharged their mitochondria and it didn't recharge mine, right? You know, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Like, the why of it working is totally different than the how of the suffering. And this is what we do. We spend all this time evaluating the why, or the how, excuse me. Right? Oh, I don't feel well. I did this, I did that. Oh, I shouldn't have done that. Like, how many people have like done something and then been like and regretted doing it? Like, oh my God, if I only had stepped with my left foot versus my right foot, I wouldn't have fallen down the stairs. right? And then you beat yourself up for weeks about having made that wrong choice. Like, yeah, all those things happened, but underneath of it is the why of the suffering. Like, well, why did you choose the left foot over the right foot? you know, was that choice came from a certain kind of karma, and there's all these the fact that you fell down the stairs has nothing to do with whether you use your right foot or your left foot, right? It has to do with some previous karma, some wheel of knife that you threw out a long, long time ago. And so the way that a bodhisattva reacts to suffering is completely different. You know, they get angry. There's a few seconds of anger creates incredibly strong karma. So a bodhisattva is like, I'm going to immediately crush that karma and use that crushing of that karma to advance their practice because they understand why. They understand why they got angry. Like a bodhisattva never lets anger go on because they understand that it's actually excluding them from reaching a paradise karmically. Why would you keep being angry? All you're doing is delaying your enlightenment. Sorry. And so that's what ends up happening is a peacock warrior goes, well, shit, that gets in the way of my goal. This reaction gets in the way of the goal. So just stop it. Crush that anger. A bodhisattva gets sick and says, oh, well, why am I sick? Well, I should have worn a mask or blah, blah, blah. No, don't go there. Who cares? It's over. You're already sick. What do you do with it? Like, why is that karma ripening now? Who knows? What did you do to create it? Lots of things, probably. Did you create it last week? Probably not. It's probably from a previous lifetime of some kind of weird ass life where you weren't taking care of others. You were only taking care of yourself. Right. So now you have an opportunity to stop it. You see. So it's the how versus the why. I love when people write me messages and explain every little detail of what's going on. I'm like, that's nice, but why is that happening to you? I don't care about the how. I really don't. Yes, I love telling stories and I love hearing drama. I'm a human. I love watching television shows. I love reading books. I love human drama. Okay. But I don't care. I mean listen, I'm being strong right now. I do care. Like I like hearing stories. But I want to hear the why. Why do you see that? And what are you going to do about it? Are you going to keep telling me the story over and over again? All you're doing is keeping the anger going. You're just keeping the story going by telling the story. You see, the more you tell the story, the more it keeps going. Period. You're just replanting it. You're replanting the story by telling it. Does that mean you shouldn't tell the story? No. Does that mean you shouldn't try to figure out what's going on in the story so you can understand the seeds? Yes. But I don't care. I want to know the why. I want to know why do you feel a certain way? You don't want to feel that way? Then stop behaving that way. Plant different seeds. I'm really angry, Tim. Oh, what happened? This person, blah, 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 blah. Okay, after 5 minutes, I'm like, that's nice. Stop being angry. Right? Because the more you tell me how angry you are, the more you continue the anger. And then you're just throwing more ninja stars. Like, that's why I get so irritated. I'm like, stop throwing the stars. You're just hurting yourself. And I want you to stop throwing stars. Ninja stars, anyway. Right. But the why? What's the why? Okay, you're experiencing this. Yeah, that sucks. I'm really sorry. And I am sorry. I do care in that way. I'm sorry that you have to experience that negative seed. That's what I'm sorry about. And then I get even more sorry when I see the seeds being replanted. That's the most painful part for me. When I watch it happening again, I'm like, sorry. You thought you were stopping it by talking to me, but you're not, you know. And then I'm trying to find a way to stop it, you know, stop the pattern, stop throwing that damn star. Maybe that I should carry around a ninja star. And then when people are replanting, I just pull out the star and be like, hey, why don't you go throw this? Go throw it at the tree over there. Maybe that, and I laugh because I do it myself. But we have to stop throwing those stars and we have to understand the why. Like, do the opposite. It's always opposite day. If you're mad, find something, stop being mad. If you're feeling sick, go help someone who's not feeling well. What if you're too sick and can't help them? Think about how you helped people in the past. Think about how this seed is ripening upon you, and may all of that sickness ripe upon you and not ripen upon anybody else. Okay. You can always practice. You can find a way to practice. What if it gets too much and I need to cry? Well, then go. It's okay. You can cry. I cry a lot. It's okay. Right. They can get overwhelming, and flip into the why. Flip into your why. Like, do you want to reach that highest paradise? Then good. Then behave differently. And if you don't, keep behaving the same. Like, what else can I say? End of class. Bye. I can't do it for you. Okay. There's this cool thing that happens in this. Cool. I've actually answered all those questions. All right. It's now like party time. And what I mean by that is now there's this whole section where we just get correlations. If you're experiencing this, this is the correlation for it, which is extremely helpful, right? To understand what behaviors in the past caused this particular ripening, so you can start changing your behavior now to freaking get it to end. All right. And I'll say from my own experience, these lists of correlations are pretty damn good. Usually what'll happen is I'll have a problem for a long time. I'll think I'm using karma and emptiness to solve it, but all I've been doing is throwing stars. And then I read the list and I'm like, fuck, I've just wasted 6 months of my life planting bad seeds trying to get rid of this problem, where all I need to do is change a few things. Okay. It doesn't take a lot to shift most things. And I say that because sometimes it takes a long time to shift things. Sometimes the tree that's come out is so rooted and so, it's like a big redwood tree that it's very difficult for it to come down. Okay. And the biggest one for us is our own internal, dachshund, our own cherishing and holding to ourselves. That's the biggest one. But externally, sometimes things are they're just difficult and they won't move. even if you've been trying to solve it for years, like war, for example. I mean, like I'm constantly like trying to shift the karma that I have to see war, right? And then what happened is I got a president who's ridiculous. I'm sorry, I'm going to be political for a second. Like it's just ridiculous. And you can quit the class and never come back if you don't agree with me because I don't care. But it's not about your point of view, it's about the point of view I see, right? If two people are sitting in the same room, one person says that president's awesome, and the other person said that president's an idiot. Who's right? They're both right because of their karma. Right? Why do I see an idiot who's like undoing things and doesn't understand karma and emptiness? Because I don't understand it. Duh. So I need to study more, right? Okay, so maybe you like Donald Trump. Okay, what karma do you have to see it that way? Excellent. Like I say, excellent. I don't care. I still like you. I like you. I don't dislike you because you have a different opinion on somebody, right? And that's how wars start. Get it? All of a sudden, people are like, "Oh, that guy's an idiot. That guy's a savior." Which one is it? Now we're gonna fight about it. There you go. There's your war right there. You want to stop war? Stop judging people who have different opinions than you have, right? And so for some reason, my world is like seems the more I practice, the more ridiculous the world seems to be to me. And I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. Things don't make sense to me sometimes. I'm like, okay, then I need to double down and work harder. Look for the ways that I generate war within myself or in the way that I disagree with other people, the way that I'm still acting like a chiba, like an infant, the way that I'm still holding on to my self grasping, you know. And maybe Ina has a cool point that if the president's only thinking of their country first and not the rest of the world, it's a form of Dakchenzen, right? It's a form of thinking only of the self. That's an interesting point of view. It's an external manifestation of the Daksin. Okay, so here we go. Let's go through a list of things. If you have this problem, this is the seed you planted in the past. Did you do it last week? Probably not. Did you do it like last month? Maybe. But most likely they did in other time periods, other lifetimes. So don't get so upset with yourself. It's okay. The whole point is you're seeing it. Don't worry about the guilty. Don't go guilty and think about the person you were last week or 10 months ago or 10 years ago. The person I was 20 years ago, I did some mean things to people. I hurt people. And I'm sorry that I did. But all I can do now is move forward. The next step that I have is what's that next step? What's the next seed that I'm going to plant? Do I plant more of the same bullshit or do I plant something different? That's your t-shirt. Okay. Right? The reason I say get these t-shirts because it'll remind you like less of the same, more of the different. Maybe we should create a t-shirt that's purposely inside out, right? The logos on the out, like do something weird. Always step with your left foot. I don't know. Try something different. You see. because the other way didn't work for you. How's it working out for you? That's how I like to say. Like, how's the old way working out for you? You know, try something different. So here we go. Let's go through this list. This is for me. This is a lot of fun, and this comes directly from the homework. And I'm not pretending that I'm not reading directly from the homework, but I'm going to because I think it's there's no reason not to. Okay. Here's the problem. People who are supposed to help you hurt me instead. What's a common example of this? People are always like, I have mommy issues, I have daddy issues, right? Your parents were supposed to help you, but they somehow hurt you. Like that's a common one that I hear. Doctors, for example, right? You know, your partner's supposed to support you and then they're not supporting you, right? So what's the cause of that? It's simply failing to keep your mind on goodness. Your mind did not stay on goodness. Your mind focused on negativities. So because your mind is not stable on goodness, you're going to see fluttering. You're going to see people who are supposed to help you but hurt you. Maybe you see the other thing too. They were supposed to hurt you and then they helped you. I don't know. Something like that. All right, that's the first one. This one's really good. I find myself getting sick a lot. People suffer from this. This is why one of the most stable professions in the world is medicine. Because people get sick. Like, doesn't matter how bad an economy is, the doctors always have work, right? So you find yourself getting sick a lot. Why? Because I hurt other people's bodies in the past. Yashang, we're not talking about that option. That's a different option. It's a good thing to try to fix a problem. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay. You hurt other people's bodies. You have different kinds. Here's a third one. You have different kinds of mental suffering. Like your mind is not happy, right? You suffer back and forth through things, and that comes from just upsetting other people in the past, right? When you upset other people, you're disturbing their mind. And so when you disturb their mind, of course, your mind's going to be disturbed as well. No, you're not hurting. If you're working out to be healthy, that's not a bad deed, Jackie. Unless you purposely hurt yourself, but hurting yourself when you're working out is coming from a different seed. All right. The people around me are demanding. The people around me are bossy. I like this one because it's like, I love it when my employees tell me what to do. And I'm like, oh, okay. you know, I mean, yes, there's agreements of things that I'm supposed to do for them, right? But when people tell me they get bossy with me, and I'm like, wait a second, I'm the boss, right? What is that about? It's a kind of arrogance, right? Like it's a kind of you were arrogant towards other people in the past, especially people who were lower than you, right? So then you're going to create people who treat you the same way. Doesn't matter whether you're the boss or not. Anastasia, I'm not talking about you, just so you can relax. I can see you worried. But if you have bossy people around you, there was some kind of arrogance you had, right? Z says in the chat here, I think, that she loves when her dance students act like they know more than the teacher and than her. And you're like, okay, great, thanks. Right? That comes from a particular seed, right? Why do your students think that they know more than you? Right? And you're like, that's weird. And then I love having students because it ripens every single one of these things for me. I'm like, well, okay, I guess I have that in the past, right? Okay, people say unpleasant things. That one's pretty easy. You were divisive in the past. Like you were the one who was speaking in a way that separated people from each other. All right. It's also really fascinating to me. Like the people that need to hear the teachings sometimes aren't there to hear the teachings when I give the teachings. It's amazing. It's like the student doesn't have the karma to hear the teaching. It's so amazing. Unpleasant things happen around me, right? It's not that people say things to me, but they're happening around me, right? This one's really special. Okay. If there's a lot of unpleasant things happening around you, that in the past you failed to think of the world and the people in it as special and holy. And I think that's a really great correlation. That if you're seeing lots of unpleasant things happening, that previously, and by previously we mean, ages ago. Okay. And ages could be other lifetimes, so don't worry about it. Is that you failed to see the things and people around you as special and holy, even the difficult ones. So start doing that. If you have a lot of unpleasant things around you, start looking for secret messages. Start looking for maybe there's something special going on. And then watch how that changes. So, literally, by the way, if you hear this is your problem, do the antidote. That's your solution. Okay. This is not me just like, giving you correlations. The thing that applies to you, do the opposite. Make a goal today to do the opposite. It's opposite day, right? If you have unpleasant things around you, start by looking for things that might be special and holy that you just thought were normal and boring and stupid. All right. Okay. I have trouble finding friends and other people to help me. Right. If you're lonely, you don't have people close to you, or you never have any support, that means you were somehow divisive in the past. You split other people up who were close to each other. Like you took people who were close and you drove a wedge between them. So find ways to unwedge people. Find people who are divided and bring them together. People are having an argument, partners that aren't getting along, coworkers. Coworkers are great. This is why working with people is wonderful. You get that opportunity every day. Like just be the mediator, bring people together, give people other points of view. If people are complaining, you can say, well, maybe there's a different point of view here. You see. It's amazing. All right. People act in an intimidating way towards me. Like people are aggressive towards you. This one is awesome. That you said bad things about spiritual people. People who were attempting to have a spiritual practice. And this is not someone, they may not be the perfect spiritual person, right? They're still figuring their stuff out, right? Like if you say bad things to them, you will have people who act aggressively towards you in intimidating ways. It could also be countries. Okay. You know, if I see my illustrious leader acting in an intimidating way towards people, maybe I spoke negatively about other spiritual people. God damn. You know how hard it is to hang out with a bunch of spiritual people and never say a bad thing about someone else? Because everyone just seems normal. Like everyone I hang out with are like ACI people in some way, shape, or form. That's all my life, right? I go to events, I work with people, I have students, you do all these things. Like, have I ever said something negative about any of those people? Yes. Did they annoy me? Yes. Were they being idiots? Yes. Right? Well, then why are you surprised if you have an illustrious leader who intimidates other people? You know, so got to be more careful with your words, Tim. You have to be more careful with others, right? Especially people who are trying to practice. Whether they're successful or not is irrelevant. They're trying to be better people. They're doing their opposite days all day long. They're just failing more than others. Get it? Just because you got to be so careful what you do and say and judge people. You know, maybe you judge other religions. Maybe you think that, there's a whole bunch of things could be going on. All right, next one. I am depressed a lot. I feel depressed. If you're feeling sad or you're feeling like you don't have a lot of energy, all of those things, like it's because you encouraged other people to do bad things in the past. This is a subtle one, right? Like for example, you know, if you're not a vegetarian and you go to the store and you buy yourself a nice filet mignon, right? Did you kill the cow? Not really. You didn't go out in the field and bring it into the slaughterhouse, and you didn't put the gun to its head, and you didn't hang it upside down and drain all the blood out of it. You didn't do any of that, but someone else did, right? And so the cause of feeling depressed is having done have encouraged people to do bad deeds, right? Like I live in a country where, I mean, we do lots of good things, but there's a lot of bad things we do, and my taxes pay for it, right? Am I supporting their bad deeds? It's a mixed karma. It's very difficult, of course. Encouraging other people to do bad things causes depression. Now, what happens if you have depression already, right? Don't go running around telling people, "Oh, you encourage people to do bad deeds." Like you were a vegetarian and you encouraged all those people in the slaughterhouse to kill the cows. Right? No, like no, no, no. You do the opposite, right? You encourage them to do the opposite, right? You help other people do good deeds, right? And the difficult thing with depression is that there's a lack of motivation and interest as well. Like it self spirals, so it's hard to get the energy to do things. So it becomes, it's not an easy thing. And then there's levels of depression where it's just you feel unmotivated up until the point of where you have clinical symptoms of depression, right? Which are, there's a whole thing with that as well. you know but the solution to it is helping other people to do good things, like finding a way to help them just be good people, right? Sandra says here, making an employee give a false excuse to a customer. Exactly. Right. Don't do that. Just be honest. So, okay. Next one. Whatever I try to do doesn't seem to work out. This is a good one. My world doesn't, I can't get things to work the way I want them to work. I might be planting seeds, but I'm not able to get the results that I'm looking for. What's going on? It's because you got in the way of the work of holy beings. You hindered the activity of holy beings. For the better part of a year, every single email that came out from Geshe Michael from the Good Night Book Club was about how people were ambushing him and asking him to do other things. And he was like, dude, I'm translating. If you see Geshe Michael as a holy being, of course, this is an emptiness question, right? You're doesn't matter how many good seeds you're planting, that seed will ripen very, very quickly and block you from getting the things you want. Bothering the activities of a holy being will stop you from getting the things you want. So that means you got to get subtle and understand what they're doing. Okay. Don't bother them. Oh, but Tim, if they're my teacher, well, I need to, ask questions. Yeah, but don't bother them. Stop bothering them. Look at your own energy. Look at the way that your prana comes out of your body. Like, don't demand, make requests. Like, there's ways to not bother your teacher, right? The more you bother your teacher, the more your life will not work out. Does that mean you don't talk to your teacher? No, that's not what I said. Standard decorum. Okay. It's not hard. But if you're having things not work out, make sure that you're not bothering people who are doing good deeds. Get it? If someone's doing good deeds, and you bother them, you're stopping them from doing good deeds. Why? Because you wanted to talk to them? Why are you more important than the good deeds that they're doing? See, we have to start thinking these ways. And that's self-cherishing, thinking that you're more important than the good deeds of somebody else. My favorite one is when people do a bad deed to do a good deed. Like their teacher asked them to do something, and so that they end up doing a bad deed in order to accomplish the thing their teacher asked them to do. That's my favorite one. Step on someone else to help your teacher. But it was a good deed. Yeah, but you stepped on someone else. Did your teacher want that? No. That's not how it works. Okay. You have to get aware, you have to become aware of all the things that's going on. But your Doc Chenzen will prevent you from seeing it all. Your self-cherishing will prevent it. And that's the whole point. And so the idea is how to attenuate all of those things. And I guarantee you will do all of these things. Don't worry about it. We all do. Relax. If you're a student, you'll do them. It's okay. If your teacher doesn't talk to you, you're probably doing one of these things. Let's see here. Oh, this is my favorite one. No matter what I do, my Lama is never pleased with me. This is my favorite one. I had this problem for a long time. Like my Lama never seemed happy with what I was doing. And the correlation is I was insincere and hypocritical in my Dharma practice. Ooh, ooh, that one hurts. That one stings a little bit. You were insincere and hypocritical. What does that mean? Your motivation probably wasn't pure. I'm really, I'm such a great Dharma practitioner. Is anybody looking? Okay, they're all looking. Okay, good. I'm such a great meditator, right? Or that, you're doing something, your motivation isn't for other people. Oh, I want to serve my teacher. Oh, really? Why do you want to serve your teacher? The only access I ever get to Geshe Michael is when I'm asking about how to help other people. I never get to ask about myself. And I've thought for years, why? If I want to talk about a project I have that's helping other people, immediately we have a meeting. If I'm going to whine about a problem I have, he doesn't even listen. He's like, it's almost like his ears turn off. Right. If I start a sentence with, I'm trying to figure out how to help other people because I have this problem myself, then his ears open up. Right. Because then the practice is, then it's about practicing. Right. You're not thinking of only yourself. Now that kind of stings a little bit because if I have a lot of self grasping still, right? How do I bust through that? And that's just practice. You just have to keep fighting it, fighting that tendency. You know, the more you serve other people, the more access you will have to your teacher. The less you think of yourself, the more access you will have. the more advices you will get. Because otherwise, your cup is just full and there's nothing the teacher can put into it. Right? If this cup is full, there's no teaching that can go into it. How you like my message for you all? Get it? This is an ACI cup, right? If your cup is full of sin, there's no room for wisdom. It's impossible, right? How do you battle it? A lot of ego bursting, a lot of balloon bubbling, busting, excuse me. You got to pop that balloon of the ego, right? Because otherwise you can't put anything in the cup. It's like the problem of the pot. Most people's problem is not that the pot is leaky, it's the pot is too full. It's too full of sin. It's too full of self-cherishing. So we're not going to finish this list. We'll finish the list on Monday here. But what I would like you to do is go into that. It's question 5 of the homework. Finish them up and think about them. Which one of those is your problem? I can guarantee you're going to find at least 3 or 4 on this that are problems right now. Okay. And then what I'd like you to do from now until Monday is it's opposite day. Do the opposite. And a lot of it doesn't require you to, it's not like I had this advice given to me yesterday. It's not like you have to radically change every single habit that you have. It's just shifting of some mindsets. It's just a mindset shift in some cases. Still do the same action, have a different mindset, and the seed's different. 100%. Okay. So between now and Monday, what I'd like you all to do is go to that list, question 5. For the ones we didn't do, try to figure out which ones they are, and don't look at the answer key. Don't cheat. Okay, think about it. Like you can cheat, that's fine. But I want you to think about it. Like, think about why is that the correlation? We'll finish them up on Monday. But what I'd like to, we're going to start the class. I'm going to ask a few people to say, how did you practice opposite day? What was the thing? What's the problem you have? And what was the opposite? You looked at the correlation and how did you plant the opposite seed? Okay. And I'm going to admit I'm 100% totally selfish right now because I'm stuck in something that I'm unable to think about in a dharmic way. All right. So I'm using you. Get it? I'm using you as my seed planting exercise by not thinking of myself. I'm thinking of you because I want you to do it. So we'll start our class on Monday with that. Come to class with what is your problem? And what did you do we have Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You have 4 days. Or if it's Thursday night for you, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. You have 4 days. This is what I want you to do in your book practice. Don't do anything else. Just pick one of those things. And 6 times every day, or maybe you have a 3 times a day book because 6 times is too much. Do the opposite. Just on this one thing. Let's kick our problems in the butt right now. Let's choose our one major problem, do the opposite. Let's do it all day long. And then, by the way, the way to really activate this is to do your coffee meditation. Okay. Be happy. Do a coffee meditation intensive. Be happy several times a day that you're practicing opposite day for this one problem, not all of your problems. We have too many problems. Just choose one. Don't do all of them. Just fix one thing. Okay. And then on Monday, some of you have the opportunity to share what your opposite day was like. And then you can also speak in your own language, and we'll flip to the English channel for those of us listening in English, and then we'll double translate. Don't worry. I want to give people the opportunity to speak. Yay. Okay. Happy Thursday. Hope you have a wonderful day. And we'll be back in about 25 minutes with some Lamrim. So say goodbye to each other, and we'll see you in next class.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so
Take
much.
care.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Please
you.
stay.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you, team.
Thank you, team.
Thank you for teaching.
Gracias, Maestro Tim. Have a nice day, everyone.
See ya.